from David Adler concerning what happened after their abduction by the IDF.
This is David Adler, now in Amman, Jordan, having been only recently liberated from an internment camp in the Negev desert, where I was held with hundreds of other participants of the global Sumud flotilla for 5 days in horrific conditions that have yet to be reported. When we were intercepted illegally and violently by Israeli naval forces, many of which were caught on CCTV, others of which were not caught on CCTV, such as the case of our Owaila, which was targeted by a barge that sought to destroy and sink our boats. Our belongings and our boats were stolen from us. We were kidnapped, stripped, zip-tied, blindfolded, and sent to an internment camp on a police van without any access to food, to water, to legal supports. And for the next 5 days on and off, we were psychologically tortured. We were taken individually out of our cells for any kind of request for medicine or for other kinds of attention from the guards. People were taken individually out of their cells and regularly beaten and handcuffed, ankle cuffed, and left in solitary confinement. This happened so many times over so many days. And we were asking for the most basic things like critical access to insulin for diabetic detainees that were part of the flotilla. In short, we were treated as terrorists, which is what Ben-Gvir promised he would do. From the first moment that we stepped onto that tarmac after interception, we were violently forced onto our knees into positions of submission, where the two Jews of the flotilla were taken by the ear and ripped from the group for a photo op with Ben-Gvir, staring at the flag of the state of Israel, taunted for his goons. Thus began basically a long 5-day nightmare of serial and systematic violation of our most basic rights. Reports vary from the different cell blocks, but the one report that is consistent is that at times we were denied food and water, at all times we were denied access to medicine based on the whims of individual specific kind of officers working shifts. Any request for a medic was basically denied or delayed infinitely. We had no access to our lawyers or legal representation. Consular services were not able to communicate any information about our condition. That goes without saying that there were other instruments of psychological warfare that were deployed against us. I'm shocked that more of this information hasn't come to light, but I'm confident that now that the last 130 detainees have been released to Jordan, that reporters can take up the question of what exactly happened to these humanitarian workers that were intercepted illegally by Israeli naval forces after they arrived at the port of Ashdod. They were not taken to a regular prison. They were driven deep into the Negev desert, basically to the border with Egypt, where we heard, F-16s and F-35s overhead every night going to bomb Gaza to the sound of German shepherds that would menace us every day. Every single day, riot groups would come to our cells with tear gas and riot gear and German shepherds that would come into our cells and seek to kind of terrify and terrorize us. These were not at all normal prison conditions. I'm obviously very aware that not all of this pales in comparison to the treatment that Palestinians endure every single day. 11,000 of them that are in indefinite detention at the moment, including in the same internment camp where we were held as terrorists by the state of Israel. But what has not been reported so far is the way that humanitarian workers were not treated. We were never told we committed a crime. We never saw a judge. Other than one who simply made a summary we never saw a judge with a lawyer and a prosecutor. We saw one judge who basically said, "Do you want to go home?" And we said, "Of course we want to go home. We didn't ask to come here. We were kidnapped and abducted and sent here illegally." And so it's obviously a critical part of the story that just to look into what are the conditions normally at those camps, who's held at that camp, why were we sent there, and of course what did people endure kind of day to day as a marker of how far how rogue the state of Israel has become in its utter disregard for basic international humanitarian law that should have been protecting us. And so that's, I think, the critical message that we're trying to send now from the U.S. delegation and others who have been just released today in the U.S. delegation's case with absolutely zero consular services. We arrived at the Jordanian border. The U.S. consul told us, General Consul said, "We are not your babysitters. You'd have no food, no water, no money, no phones, no planes. We're taking you straight, no visa. We're taking you straight to the airport and you're on your own. We are not your babysitters." They repeated this 4 or 5 times to us as if we needed to be told. I mean, this is the kind of Ben-Gvir Trumpian nightmare that we've been living for the past days. So, my sincere hope is that, we can pick up a story from interception and detention to the real story of basically how Ben-Gvir got his way with this group of activists, school teachers and nurses and medics and people from around the world who were just trying to, deliver this aid, how that became this basically what felt like, an unending, day-to-day sleepless, oftentimes foodless and horrific treatment in the cell blocks of this internment camp. This is David App.
Well, I think that